Hi everyone, my name is Nicole, and I'm going to be talking with you guys a little bit about the city of Detroit, which I have this beautiful picture of right here. So I'm just kind of get into the rise of Detroit, how it became a major city, and then also its fall, um, and like some struggles that it has faced during its time as a city. And then I also want to talk a little bit about what the city's plan is for the future and my thoughts on that and some changes I think the city should make. So I'm excited to share this with you all. But yes, as I said, here's a picture of Detroit. And one of the really cool things about Detroit is a lot of people feel like it has always been meant to be a major city because of its prime location. It is so close to Lake Erie. So it's kind of midpoint for traveling and then for some a destination. So yeah, that's really benefited the city. So another huge benefit to the city was its industry. So we can see right here, this is kind of a picture I added to represent the lumber industry, which was a major industry, and the mining industry was also a major industry. And these two were kind of the leading um, Detroit industries for a while until, of course, Ford came in, or I guess the automotive industry came in, and we know Olds created the first mobile, but and he was located in like the Lansing area, I believe. And then Ford kind of brought that industry to Detroit, where his plants were located in Deer or are located in Dearborn. And he brought a lot of people in because of the jobs he was able to offer. And same with the lumber and mining industry, those also brought in a lot of people in all of the industries that Detroit had to offer, but in specific, the automotive industry, because Ford created the assembly line, he was able to offer up jobs to so many people. And then, if you can see in this news article, it says that Ford started offering $5 a day for work. And while that may seem like nothing to us right now, at that time, that was like revolutionary. The idea of making $5 per day was like a very livable wage for a family. And just put this in context for you, if you were making $5 a day, you'd be able to buy the car, one of the cars that Ford was making. So that's kind of a luxury. Um, so those are the kind of the idea of something that you would be able to afford. But millions of people, maybe not millions, thousands, came to try and get employed uh, by Ford. So they came to Detroit for that. And another thing that brought people to Detroit was the Underground Railroad. So the Underground Road, you can kind of see a lot of these routes led to this Detroit area because people were trying to get to Canada. So some just ended up staying in Detroit, um, and were able to kind of find their home here. Some escaping, these were escaping slaves, of course. And so we can kind of see that like the diversity of Detroit has contributed a lot to its history, which we'll get into. So I also want to give you a little bit of information about this particular street or neighborhood in Detroit. So this is called Black Bottom. And Black Bottom was a really noteworthy neighborhood for the Black community in Detroit. It had um, Black owned businesses and nightclubs, and it was just kind of like a thriving city and also kind of where Motown came to be. So it was like the hub for Black culture. And this they had some challenges because they had so many people living in like each house that there were just like some, it wasn't super desirable living circumstances, which people would criticize it for. But nevertheless, this was a noteworthy part of the Black community in Detroit. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, as we get into the fall, I want to talk about the fall of Black Bottom. So, Black Bottom, this noteworthy neighborhood in Detroit, ended up being replaced by demolished and replaced by for the Chrysler Freeway to be made. And this is what it looked like then when it was getting replaced. So basically, people, um, the city decided to demolish the neighborhood in order for to build this freeway so that people who are from the suburbs could travel to the city for their work and have more convenience because it's easier, obviously, to get from point A to point B when you're taking the freeway, as we know. Um, but like, at what cost? I guess they lost this influential neighborhood because of the building of this freeway. And this freeway was made for those who lived in the suburbs, which were primarily white people, but at the cost of these black people living in Detroit losing what is kind of the hub of their community. And here's just another picture of like the Chrysler Freeway or the freeway today. Another challenge faced by the city of Detroit was blacklining or redlining. So redlining is kind of this real estate tactic that the state and federal government was using. So they have this is a map of it in Detroit. So you can see this is where the city is. And they have some areas that are red, yellow, and then green, blue. And so these green areas were like primarily white. And so they were labeled as good. And then these areas were primarily black or other races other than white that were labeled as hazardous. So you can see how this would impact the city of Detroit because people, this was labeled, the city was primarily red, therefore labeled as hazardous. Hazardous. So less people wanted to live in the city because it was they were being informed that this was not a desirable place to live, um, and it's just a shame. But yes, this definitely contributed to Detroit's fall, I would argue. Other things that contributed to Detroit's fall, one was crime. So Detroit did have a high crime rate, and that was a huge part of the way that Detroit was predicted. Um, was, I guess, labeled in the media. So it was known for, some people called it Murder City or the murder capital of the world. Um, so these were just, that obviously makes people not want to really live in Detroit or even visit Detroit as much. And Detroit also had its struggles with drugs because drugs kind of made their way into the city and that impacted its image as well. And then, of course, the Detroit riots. So the black community within Detroit was not really treated as fairly, and they simply got fed up, and they this kind of riot ensued because of that. The unemployment rate between like the black community and the white community or other races was not anywhere near equal. And then also the police were arresting black people in large numbers, and these kind of things added up and led to this riot. And of course, this riot also contributed to the way that the city was viewed because it was such a noteworthy part of Detroit's history. But I still see a glimmer of hope that Detroit is going to become the thriving city that it has the potential to be. And Detroit is working to make a lot of changes in order to become a more successful city. So, one of the changes that they are making is in the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are contain a lot of rundown and abandoned houses, and so one of the changes Detroit is doing is refurbishing those houses, or in some cases demolishing them if there is no hope for them to be able to be refurbished, and building something new and something more desirable because these houses just do have kind of taint the image of Detroit when they aren't looking like places that anybody would really want to live. And then another change that Detroit is making is replacing a lot of the vacant property with green space, or what they say green and blue space. So that's like parks, and the blue would be like water, bodies of water. So what they're really saying is that they're developing more parks and public spaces for the city to enjoy. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to for the city because I think that people want to live in a place where they can, yes, they go to work and maybe they spend their money at the local businesses, but people don't only want to spend their money and go to work. They also want to go in and just enjoy a place and their a place to be just simply there for them. And I think that's what public spaces are. Detroit also mentioned in their city plans that they were trying to make it more of a walkable and more inviting for bikers. And they didn't really specify exactly what those plans were. However, hope that they have similar plans to what I have. So I would really like for Detroit to make protected bike lanes along some of their streets because um, I think that these bike lanes kind of encourage an element of activity. And I think people want to live in a place in a city that feels active. And also, this also encourages less people to be driving, so maybe we don't have to have major freeways in the city because less people are on the road, more people are biking or walking or enjoying public transportation. But I specifically say protected bike lanes for the city because um, people also want to bike and feel safe, and when they aren't protected, they that can a lead to danger for people, which we would never want, and also we just simply want people to feel encouraged to use these bike lanes, and I think more people would if they were protected. And then I also have this picture right up here. So this is actually a picture of Boston, but I really love what they did in their city. So what they did was they put this freeway underground. And then in this freeway, it was originally up where you see all of this green space that was filled with freeway. And they put this freeway underground so that they could fill this area with green space. Now, this was a very expensive project, and I would never expect the city of Detroit to do that soon. However, I do think that this could be a um, really awesome change that the city of Detroit could make. And also, in general, I just think that the city of Detroit should work to be um, create a more walkable feel. From my times visiting Detroit, I've seen a lot of streets that feel like this. So the picture on the left, and I mean, just think about it. Do you really want to be walking on a long street that looks like this? I personally don't because this street looks like it's made for cars. But this street on the right, I feel was made for people and for people to enjoy and feel comfortable walking around and just kind of experiencing the city. It's not just a place to get from point A to point B, it's a place to stay and enjoy. So I think that making Detroit feel like it was made more for walkers would really benefit the city and cause people to maybe want to live here, maybe want to just at least visit. Um, which I think that something that the city doesn't really have that much of right now. Um, but yeah, that's my hopes for Detroit, and I really hope that you guys can feel hopeful with me and become a little bit more passionate about improving upon this city that impacts the state of Michigan so greatly. It's like the most major city in the state, so don't we want it to experience success and be the thriving city that it has the potential to be? Um, but yeah, thank you so much for listening again, and bye.